Hey, how's it going, guys? Matt here from Toasty DIY, and I'm here with a quick video to show you this cute little device that I've been using way more than my gaming PC itself. This right here is the Anbernic RG351P, and if you haven't seen the video we did over on the main channel, we did a video rounding up some of the cheapest little emulation devices that you can buy off of AliExpress, and this was one of them, and I was incredibly happy with this. It ended up being a little under $100, which, based on what this thing can do, seems like a lot, but the build quality is absolutely amazing, and for a specific audience, I think it's really good. And I'm kind of just gonna go over like a 3-month update. I think it's kind of been longer than that, but I'm just gonna say 3 months to be safe, and how my experience has been with this device. So I did install the 351 Elect custom software, which I will leave some tutorials in the description down below. Trust me, you're gonna wanna do this. Some of the emulators on the built-in version that you're going to get are not gonna work very well. And another thing you really wanna do is to get a different micro SD card than the one that it comes with. It has a pretty high failure rate, according to reviews that I've seen, and it's just a good idea so you don't lose your entire library. But basically what this is a little emulation station. It has a bunch of built-in emulators. So for example, Game Boy Advance is what I've mainly been using because this thing isn't nearly as powerful as, let's say, like an Aya Neo, like something like this big guy right here, which we'll talk about in another video. But it does have enough horsepower to emulate Game Boy games and some DS games if you're not too worried about having a little bit of stutter here and there. And it's super compact. Again, let me bring in the Aya Neo, for example. This thing is huge, but when you compare this, I mean, it's super compact. And I really like this design just because it's super easy to just throw in a backpack and go, and you're not really too worried about it getting scuffed up or anything, because it's a pretty solid little device. Now, as I mentioned, I have pretty much installed mainly Pokemon emulation on here, and full disclosure, if you're gonna do any sort of emulation, of course, you wanna have a physical copy of the game, but what we're going to do is go ahead and launch some Fire Red real quick. So yeah, as you see, I got some emulation going here with some Pokemon, and this is what I've mainly been using this thing for. The screen is very vibrant, looks really good, and it's able to upscale some of these games that you're playing on the Game Boy Advance to full 60 FPS, so it's nice and smooth, and it just looks really good. Now, the emulator that the Game Boy Advance uses, the Game Boy Advance emulator, is RetroArch, so you can go in here and customize some of the settings. You can do save states, you can go into additional options to change the video settings, you can go in there and update some of the audio stuff, and speaking of audio, that's one drawback I have with this thing, is the speakers on the bottom, these two little speakers that face the bottom. These two speakers are not great at all, but it does come with a headphone jack, so you can just plug in headphones if you want to have a better audio experience. But if you're just playing a game like Pokemon, which you're really just listening to a soundtrack, it's really not a big deal. But it also does charge via USB-C, which I have noticed it's very picky with what devices you use. I use an old iPhone charger, like the little small brick, and that works out well for me. Any bigger brick or fast charging will not charge this device, so keep that in mind. But the battery life is pretty impressive. I've been playing this for about an hour today, and I'm only at 96% playing a game like Pokemon. I mean, again, it is Pokemon, so it's not like a really demanding thing, especially Game Boy Advance, but it's still really cool that you can have a device like this that allows you to load up any sort of Pokemon game from Game Boy without having to go with like an original Game Boy. But you can, of course, do stuff like Nintendo 64 if you want to. It doesn't run the smoothest from my experience. I'll go ahead and see if I can launch this Banjo-Kazooie run that I had. It's not the greatest. It's mainly good for your lower end things like NES. Oh yeah, Banjo-Kazooie just didn't work. There's another issue that I've had with this thing where some games, some ROMs that you throw in here just will not work. I do have things like Pokemon Black in here, but these games that run on the NDSi Enhanced, they normally don't run very well on here, but I might have an autosave still on this where I tried to run through Pokemon Black and it just felt a little too slow. Maybe I'm a little bit spoiled with some of the emulation I've done in the past, but it just felt a little too slow. And once again, this kind of looks like another one of those games that just doesn't want to work properly. So yeah, I mean, I would say this thing is a cool device. I really like it for my use case, reliving old Pokemon games on Game Boy. If you're mainly playing Game Boy games and you want a just kind of new device that's a little bit upscale from an OG Game Boy Advance, then yeah, pick this thing up. It's definitely worth considering. But anything beyond that is just kind of a small toy you might want to just tinker with. And if you're looking for a little device to just experiment with, install some ROMs and maybe flash some custom software, then this is definitely a device for you. But as you can see, there's a lot of trial and error. This isn't a perfect device by any means, and there's a lot of things that you have to reboot, restart. Sometimes emulation doesn't work. So yeah, if you guys are interested in picking up one of these Anbernic devices, check the link down below, and stay subscribed, because I'm gonna try to do more showcases of products that I use on a regular basis, and this thing is definitely one of those things that I use. Once I totally finish Pokemon Fire Red, the run I'm doing, I don't know how much I'll actually be using it, but maybe I'll find another game that I can play and give you all a 1-year update to just go over exactly how well this thing is holding up. So thank you guys again for watching today's video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.